Hello everybody, welcome to I'm Not Wearing Any Pants Under This Blanket. That's not the name of the show. The show is a video diary, so I don't see why it would have a name, but if it did have a name, I was thinking we would call it Chilling in the Nightmare, because I would like everybody to chill, and we're in a nightmare. So, I mean, that's what I'm about. I'm about chilling in the nightmare. I was thinking about doing a video diary because it seems like YouTube is degraded to the point where even channels that used to have lofty visions of content have just themselves degraded into video diaries, and a lot of people are super boring. And I was like, I think we're at my comfort zone where I'm not particularly as boring as these individuals, and I'm listening to them like, oh, this is so boring. But a lot of the time I'm driving and I can't like touch the phone because of rules and regulations, so I just have to listen to these people being really boring. I was thinking I would just talk about life and stuff, ordinary things, because that's what people are into. People are into, ordinary events, lifestyle videos. My wife has been showing our trips to Walmart every week for years. So, I mean, if people are going to watch us go to Walmart and buy groceries, then I can probably wax poetic a little bit with these people. But I'm not even trying to do that. I was going to talk about boring stuff and be boring like everybody else, but I actually do have something to say today. It's the other thought I had was to do current events. I wanted to kind of talk about my opinion on current events, because there's always current events. We'd always have something to do. So what's going on right now is people are flying off the rails. They're all having a hard time. All right, so that's the big thing. People are having a hard time. So I have something to say about that. What I think they're doing is they're turning the first world into the third world, which is, that's going to be the title of the video. The first world is the new third world. But that's not even possible. You can't possibly make the first world the third world, because the whole concept is that this is not that. So it's not a real thing that can actually happen. We are the first world. We, by definition, cannot be the third world, because, the United States, the capitalist countries are, the first world, and the communist countries are the second world, and everybody outside of those two options, that's the third world. But at this point, I'm pretty sure all of the third world has actually been absorbed into the first or second world, so I don't even think there really is anything left over anymore. But that's not my point. I'll do another video about what I think is happening, but I'll say it here now because it ties into my concept of the first world is the new third world. They're kind of, all right, let me preface by saying I've only been to two countries. I've been to the United States and I've been to the Philippines, where my wife is from. And so I'm seeing a lot of things in the United States that are reminiscent of the Philippines, and not in a good way, naturally. But in my mind, I'm kind of thinking of it as like the Filipinification of the United States, which I guess is another video I'll do. Or not, because I'm probably going to say all this stuff here and I would just be repeating it. But that's another YouTube thing, is you just looping, say the same thing in multiple videos and just do it again and again, and why not? That's the other thing, is I don't have time for this. How do people have time to make these videos? I had to carve out a chunk of time. It was very difficult because I'm super busy all the time. Seems like a lot of people are not busy, which is fine. I don't care. But I used to be one of these people who had nothing to do, and everyone would be like, why do you have so much free time? Well, I'm unemployed and I don't have a wife or kids. But now I am employed and I do have a wife and kids, and so I have no free time. So ipso facto, presto changeo, I was able to make a video. And, I want to make a video diary. But that's not what we're doing here. We're talking about the first world is becoming the third world. And you say, what are you even getting at? Well, it's the Filipinification, which you could use a different, country. But all right, and then let's say the Philippines is not in the third world anymore either, because they're clearly allied with the United States. They were on the fence for a while about, you know, if they were going to be allied with China, you know, but over the whole Taiwan situation that's happening over there. But there was some kind of arrangement made with their military bases, you know, utilizing these old bases that used to be over there, that they officially at some point a few years ago did, you know, de facto move over to our side. So it was a quiet thing, though. I don't know if people would be aware of it or not. Also not the point. So that's not the third world. The third world, when I'm saying that, it just means like, I don't really want to use, it's weird because people have been telling me not to swear so much. Everybody swears, but they're really getting into my head. I'm like, I'm a person who swears, but they're really getting at me because I got 2 little kids and the wife is always on me about swearing. But anyways, when I say the third world, I just mean a shithole. They're just turning the United States into a shithole. It's plain and simple. And what does it look like? I've only been to 2 places. Again, I'm talking about only been to 2 places, but you could just take a look at anywhere where there is poverty. You want me to name some impoverished countries? We all know what impoverished countries are. A lot of them were colonized by the Spanish, let's be real. But, you know, there's other ones. There's a zillion of them in Africa. And then, you know, there's one right underneath us. Actually, there's a whole bunch of them underneath us. There's Mexico is impoverished and Haiti is impoverished. You know, it's just places where poverty exists. And they're turning the United States into a place where poverty exists. Whereas we used to be a place where poverty does not exist. And there was the lower class, you know, and there was the lower class, and there was people who struggle, but we never, even the people who were struggling, you know, they might have been living in squalor, and they may have been impoverished technically, but they were impoverished in squalor in the first world. Now they're being impoverished in squalor in a third world shithole, which is what, you know, that's the transformation that's occurring here. Is people can't really see it, but I can see why they can't see it, because it's kind of subtle. You know what I'm saying? Is they're like, it's just, it's like, it's a mentality shift with the powers that be, where they're just becoming more neglectful of people's needs and wants, and also they're running up against limitations where, well, if we want to refer to my only other place I've been to, the Philippines, their issue there, as I've heard every time I, you know, ask about it, is the problem is corruption, where you have the entire, the Philippines are jam-packed with Filipinos. They're, you know, they're coming out of the woodwork. They cram them into every nook and cranny that everywhere you turn, there's, you know, every direction you look, there's 50 to 50,000 Filipinos when you go over there, and they're all crammed in there. But these people, they can't help themselves because of corruption, you know, which is a principle of the powers that are controlling the universe. You know, it's my opinion that we live in an evil world made by evil entities for evil purposes. And whether or not that's correct, even though it obviously is, one of the methodologies used by the evil to control the good or whatever, you know, just us, we're just trying to exist, you know, and we should be able to help ourselves. We should be able to help ourselves, but we cannot, because they have us under their thumb. And the way they keep us under their thumb is they've got every trick in the book. They've got a zillion tricks. If you wrote a list of the methods by which they control us, it would go on forever, because they've thought of everything. So, but the big thing is corruption, you know. They take a thing, they say it's good, government is good, right? They're there to help. Well, they're not there to help, first off. It's obviously, they'll say one thing and do another. We're here to help, actually. We're here to hurt. You know, we're going to take care of you. We're going to make things worse is really what's happening. So you're coming up against the government. We had things good here because of, the whole imperialism thing. We won a war where everybody lost, and that was World War II. World War II changed things in our favor for a very long time, but then, we were just riding on the coattails of the people who came before us, and we didn't do anything. We didn't advance our position at all. It was an entropy thing where, we had a thing that was really great and it just deteriorated. And we've gotten so far into this deterioration, and also it's been made worse in so many different ways, of course, because, things don't get better, things get worse. But I do believe that things get better by accident. Every time I've noticed anything going right, it's because things cannot possibly always go wrong. They have to at some point go right. And so all the good things in the world, I think that's like failure of design. I think they're trying to eliminate all the positive aspects of reality, but it's not so easy. They're up against their own limitations, and they can only apply so much pressure on us at some point in time. There's things where you try to crush it and it will turn into a diamond. So maybe if they crush us enough, we will become diamonds. So that's my theory. I haven't really illustrated it very well because I have it in my head, and I saw it with my eyes when I went over to the Philippines, and I'm sure all the Filipinos have seen it, because everywhere you turn, you see. Let me tell a little anecdote here. All right, so Anthony Bourdain, we know who he was, big famous guy, dead, presumably sacrificial lamb, here nor there. But anyways, before he died, he was making his TV show, and there was an episode of his TV show, and it was on the television in the living room for a while. And my wife and I were watching this episode of Anthony Bourdain. He was in Ecuador or Nicaragua. I think he was in Nicaragua. And anyways, he was at a garbage dump, right? And there was all these kids pulling stuff out of the garbage, because they had nothing to do with their lives except to sort through the garbage and trying to find something of value in the garbage. I said to my wife, and Anthony Bourdain, he was very upset about this. He's like, what am I doing with my life? What are we doing with this whole world? Everything is terrible. Look at these little children. They're sorting through the garbage. I can't believe how terrible this is. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, and I saw things similar, maybe not exactly that, but similar, sad things involving children in the Philippines. Like, a homeless woman who's lying out on the street with her little baby on her, who is also a homeless baby. Things like that are little children selling things, so they, or whatever. But anyways, so Anthony Bourdain is watching these children going through the garbage. And he says, "Oh, this is so terrible." And I said to my wife, I was like, "Well, that's kind of how it is in the Philippines. And, what do you think about it?" And she's like, "Well, it's just normal." So, and that was it. It's, so for us to see a little child sorting through the garbage is an abysmal thing to behold. It's absolutely terrible. And so, but for somebody who's used to it, desensitized to it, it's normal. And I think if people can kind of wrap their heads around this, that we are degrading to such a degree where, the biggest, fanciest nation in the world is becoming a third world shithole. If we could just kind of accept it, that might go a long way to learning to live with it. Because the problem, the thing is, in the Philippines, they have a lot of rules. Just like over here, we have a lot of rules. But in the Philippines, they don't really obey the rules as much as we obey the rules. And by disobeying and disregarding all of their government nonsense that they have, because their government isn't doing them any favors, obviously, it's the ones that's hurting them, and the Catholic Church, I might add. But that's a whole other thing. They're just, they're just quietly disobeying, things. And the authorities can't control all those people. What are they going to do? There's 50 million Filipinos crammed into those little islands. And over here, you're seeing this in real time is people complain about it. Why doesn't the law enforcement do anything? This person's been arrested 50 times and released. These people are going into these stores and stealing everything and walking out, and these people are doing drugs all over the sidewalk, and and these people are living all over the drugs on the sidewalk or whatever. You just got to let it go. I think that's the lesson of what I learned is from the Filipinos over there, is that their way of accepting the poverty is to just you got to let it ride. They just roll with the punches, to use a cliche. It's not a good, shouldn't use cliches, it's wrong. But anyways, it's hard to describe my vision of this thing without doing edits. But they've learned to live with it over time. They've had more time. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, probably since before the Spanish got there. They were well, anyway, definitely since the Spanish got there, they've been living with these problems. And now we're kind of encountering similar problems. And we're going to have to learn to live with poverty, because we've never had poverty here. We don't know what to do with poverty. We can't even recognize it, even though it's coming at us like a tidal wave. Or maybe what this is when the water gets sucked out to sea, and you're looking at it and you're like, that doesn't look right. What is going on over there? And then, well, here comes a tsunami. So that's what I think is happening. I think there's going to be a tsunami of poverty coming at us. And but that's the other thing, is you go to the Philippines, there's people there, they're making money, they've got nice houses, nice cars, nice lives, there's beautiful people doing beautiful things, and life goes on. And so a lot of people think, that we're at the end times because the economy is so bad that the sky is going to fall and the seas are going to rise and we're all going to be drowned and crushed, and then the whole thing's just going to explode because the economy is bad. But no, because you got to look at who the economy benefits. The economy, any economy, is benefiting these bankers, and the bankers are the people who control the whole thing. And so they're always going to keep it going, whatever they need to do. And I guess they could start a nuclear war, but how would that benefit them? It wouldn't, which is probably why they haven't done it yet. But they can start all these little proxy wars all over the place, because they'll do whatever it is that benefits them. And it doesn't benefit them for us all to, wither away and die. There's no benefit in that. The benefit is to keep us grinding and grinding and grinding, and the human waste that falls by the wayside, that is the cost of doing business. And there's really no value, as much as it sucks, but I mean, it's another lesson from the Philippines. There's no value in human life. Human life is, minimum wage if you're lucky. That's the value of human life is minimum wage. And outside of labor arrangements, what is it? which sucks. I mean, I know it sucks, and you know it sucks. We all know it sucks, but they don't care what we think. It just doesn't factor into the equation. But I can tell you that this will continue to keep going and going, because it's benefiting the people who are in control of what is happening, that are causing it to happen and allowing it to happen, and who could stop it but who don't want to stop it. That's the thing about evil, is, evil is as evil does, and they want the world evil. They don't want the world good. If they were good and they wanted the world to be good, then the world would be good. But they're evil. They want the world to be evil, and so the world is evil. Who are they? I mean, doesn't even matter. I don't even think of them as a they anymore. People have all these mystical explanations about, God and the devil and good and evil and angels and demons. But the more I think about it, I think it's just the Taiji Tu, or the yin yang symbol. There's the Taiji and the Wuji, and the Taiji is the yin and the yang, and the Wuji is the whole thing together. It's the black and the white, and then the combination of the two. It's the good, it's the evil, and the combination of the two. So, I mean, we're not the best specimens to create a good world, because maybe if we were better people, we would have a better world, but we're not the best people. If you haven't noticed, we're kind of the opposite of good. We're kind of bad, because we're dumb. Stupidity, in my opinion, is the greatest evil in the world. And, there's an endless supply of stupidity. So if stupidity is evil, there's so much stupidity, there will always be so much evil. So what would be the opposite? Is intelligence, Maybe if we could... then, there's artificial intelligence. Do you think artificial intelligence will make us good? It's not called artificial stupidity. It's called artificial intelligence. And if stupidity is evil and intelligence is good, then who cares if it's artificial or not? Maybe it can do us some good, But whatever, that's my theory. The first world is the new third world. And so yeah, this is a video diary, but it's also not... If I have something to say, I'll say it, but also I would kind of just want to, talk, because it seems what other people are doing too is they're just talking about ordinary things. And I mean, like, I'm a truck driver, so I'm involved with the economy. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm involved with paying taxes and voting sometimes. I'm probably not going to do that again, but I did last time, so I'm participating in the system. So I do have a perspective on things that, other people care about, and hopefully I'm not as boring as they are. Anyways, that's it for this video. Chilling in the Nightmare video diary. Deuces.